Okay, we are recording. So just to go over the homework, looking at so from the macronutrients yesterday, what numbers did you have from the macronutrients yesterday? Like how many proteins, how many fats, how many carbs?
I haven't finished. I've done breakfast and lunch, but I have not calculated it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at them, do the percentages. So you'll see how many percentages of, or how much of a protein took up your day, how much fat took up your day, many carbs took up your day. So you'll be able to see the differences in between too.
How
Ooh.
would I find that for each food?
Hmm?
How would I find that for each food?
How do you find a percentage, Marie?
Math?
Math. Yes.
Okay.
So when you're done, they should all equal 100%. So that is your homework, is to actually figure out how you do your percentages of the macronutrients. Dun, 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 dun. And then, so last week I kind of talked about why you need protein, fats, and carbs. Why do you need protein?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need protein?
Oh, that's the question. To build muscle and to there's a lot of things, and I used to know them all, but mostly to build muscles.
What about fat?
That good fat can like help with, doesn't it give you like energy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, energy and helps with skin.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. What about carbs?
Carbs is energy and
That's it. Carbs are just quick
yeah,
energy.
that's pretty much it. Like
That's
yeah.
it. That's all it does. All right, so there are a lot of vitamins and minerals that we're going to go over. So I am going to go through them pretty quickly. If I'm going through it really quickly, it's probably not that important. I want you to know about it, but it's not necessarily on the test. So that's really what we're looking for with that one. If there is something that I do want you to know, I am going to slow down. But if you have a question, just ask.
Okay.
So we'll start with, what's the difference between a vitamin and a mineral? So we talked about macronutrients last week. What's a micronutrient? Micro is
Oh, small.
and nutrient is,
Bigger.
a nutrient is just something you need to sustain life. That's it. So a tiny something you need to sustain life. And it's really, for micronutrient, it's something you need a small amount. So macronutrients you need a lot of, micronutrients you just need a little. So I'm going to read the definition of vitamins and minerals for you, and I want you to tell me the difference. So a vitamin is an organic compound that has to be obtained by the diet that is necessary in small amounts to maintain cellular metabolic integrity. A mineral is an inorganic compound that must be obtained by the diet that is necessary in small amounts to maintain cellular metabolic integrity. What's the difference?
One's organic, one's inorganic.
That's it. That is the only difference. The only difference between a vitamin and a mineral is chemistry.
Oh, okay.
So water-soluble vitamins, the two water-soluble vitamins, and what does water-soluble mean?
Nope.
They break down in water. So water-soluble vitamin, you need water to break it down. So they're also going to be flushed out faster. They're not going to be stored in fat. So you need them all the time. The two water-soluble vitamins are vitamin C and all the B vitamins. We're going to go through all the B vitamins. Starting with, I actually put them in,
I said fun.
It is fun. It's so fun. So I actually put them in order by their number. Normally you wouldn't see them like this. You would see them by their name. But I gave you the number 2, partly because it helps me put them in my head. So sometimes it makes it easier for you guys. So we're going to start with vitamin B1, which is thiamine. That's the thiamine part is what you're actually going to see on your food. All it does is convert carbs to energy, helps with muscle contraction and conduction, and metabolism of pyruvate. Do you know what pyruvate does?
No.
It's part of one of the cycles that gives you energy. It's what converts carbohydrates to energy. It's just the cycle part of it. And you find them in nuts, meats, legumes. You'll find B vitamins in a lot of things, mostly in meats and things that'll be attached to protein. The standard deficiency of thiamine is beriberi, which you get confusion, anorexia, muscle weakness, edema, fast heartbeat, or tachycardia in large part. You have to be, any of the deficiency symptoms for these are extremely rare. So I want to tell you that to start out with, because you are very rarely going to find them in the US. Normally there's a real issue that that it's making it so you can't absorb vitamins. So it's more common in other countries, but or especially third world countries, but you're very rarely going to find a deficiency for these vitamins, especially because you need them in such small amounts, and we fortify our foods with all of these. So when I'm giving you the deficiencies, it's just because that's what you would normally see, but you're probably going to see them 200 years ago, not necessarily today. Have you studied, oh, you did just study the brain. That's convenient.
Yeah.
Do you remember, did you look at the, at any of Wernicke's area?
What is that?
It's a part of the brain. So really, 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 really thiamine deficient people are going to have Wernicke's encephalopathy, which it can cause all kinds of issues. So psychiatric disturbances, you lose control of your body, and you lose control of your eyes.
I remember that.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. Vitamin B2 is riboflavin. You're actually going to see that in a lot of stuff, especially things that are fortified. Like grains, breads, you'll see it sometimes in fortified milk and sometimes in fortified orange juice, but it's in pretty much everything. It just helps you break down protein into energy. So you get in meat, fish, poultry, dairy, eggs, legumes, leafy greens, fruits, grains. It's all over the place. If you don't get enough, you just have impaired growth. You'll have issues with your skin and your lips. Your eyes will burn, weakness, anemia. It's not fun. Now, vitamin B3, I put a little asterisk by vitamin because vitamin B3 or niacinamide is not technically a vitamin. And I will tell you why. So the definition of a vitamin is that you have to get it. It's an organic compound that you have to get from your diet to sustain life. So if we're looking at the sources of vitamin B3, it says it's synthesized from tryptophan. So do you have to have it in your diet?
No.
No, because you can make it from something else. So you're going to make it from meats or anywhere that you get tryptophan, the amino acid. Niacin deficiency is pellagra. And there are 3 things that come with pellagra. They were very, very common in third world countries. The big 3 Ds, if you remember nothing else about pellagra, it's 3 Ds: dermatitis, diarrhea, and dementia. So you have skin issues, diarrhea, and then your brain goes nuts.
Fun.
Vitamin B4 is pantothenic acid. Have you seen that on any foods that you've eaten?
But I've seen vitamin B4.
That'll work. So it just helps you start chemical reactions and helps you convert. But the B vitamins pretty much do the same thing. You'll see B vitamins being called energy vitamins. They help you convert some macronutrient into energy. So you never get energy from a vitamin, but it helps you convert the macronutrients you do have from the macronutrient to energy, to acetyl-CoA or whatever you need, to glucose, whatever you need the energy for. The big thing with this one is you lose a lot of it when it's processed. So if you're eating unprocessed food, you're going to get a whole lot more of it. But because it isn't everything, you're going to get everywhere. Now, there is no vitamin B5. Dun, 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 dun. We skip over to B6. And B6 is another one they really like for energy. So this one's called pyridoxine, and you're going to see anything that starts with a PYR is probably vitamin B6 because it helps with protein metabolism. So same thing, converting protein to energy. You need a lot more of it if you have more protein because you need it to convert protein to actual energy. You also need it if you're in a very toxic area. So if you have a lot of air pollution or you're living near a highway, you need more vitamin B6. But because it is, I mean, I assume you eat peas or grains or nuts or avocados, bananas, potatoes. I assume you eat some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, your chance of deficiency is pretty rare. All right. B7 is biotin. Do you know what you use biotin for?
Fingernails.
It's in all hair, skin, and nail vitamins. And that's just because it focuses on the protein metabolism in your hair and nails. That's it. If you don't have enough, you'll get funky skin, it'll be dry, you'll have muscle issues and higher cholesterol just because you can't process it correctly. The thing with biotin, and this was common with bodybuilders a long time ago when they ate raw eggs. When bodybuilders ate a whole lot of raw eggs, there is a protein in the egg that actually keeps you from using biotin. So if you're eating the raw egg, you're not going to have enough biotin. So their skin and nails were real funky. Once they learned all you have to do is cook the egg, and they were good. Now, vitamin B9 is folate. So folate is the natural version. Folic acid is the synthetic version. There's actually a gene mutation in about, they don't really know how many, but roughly 15% of people. So if you have the synthetic version of vitamin B9, folic acid, then it actually takes folate away from your body. So when they're looking at prenatal vitamins, they really not everybody knows they have that mutation. So looking at folate instead of folic acid, you're looking at vitamins is important. The big thing with folic acid is it helps with growth defects in the spinal cord. So that's why they have pregnant people take it. It does a couple of things. With megaloblastic anemia is the fun one. Megaloblastic anemia, all it means is the red blood cells are super big, but they're not formed correctly, so they're not doing what they're supposed to and taking oxygen where they need to. You don't want that. You want your red blood cells to be the right size and taking oxygen where they need to. And homocysteine can do a whole lot of things. It's mostly related to inflammation, so putting too much fat in the wrong places. It has a lot to do with your heart, so it can cause heart disease and stroke. Folate is actually one of the things that is fortified in a lot of our things because we have a lot of heart disease in the US, so making sure there's plenty of folate in our food is important. Vitamin B12, that's another energy vitamin. You'll see it in a lot of drinks that promote energy. Very rarely are you going to see the actual name, cobalamin, on it. It keeps your nerve and blood cells healthy, so it gets oxygen where it needs to go. That's why you'll see it in energy drinks, because it's getting the oxygen where it needs to go. You find it's always in animal foods. Very important. There is no vitamin B12 in plant foods. It's bound to protein. So if you don't get enough vitamin B12, you can be at risk for pernicious anemia. You don't want that. Anemia is a bad thing. It means you're not getting enough oxygen where it needs to go. There's something off with your red blood cells. So you may need to supplement with B12 if you're a vegetarian. Now, vitamin C, there's all kinds of names for it. Citric acid, ascorbic acid. And the big thing with vitamin C is to make collagen and help you absorb iron. It does all kinds of things. You take it for a cold because it's antibacterial, and it helps you clear stuff out of your system. The deficiency for this one, where would you normally hear the word scurvy?
Sailor?
Yeah, sailors or pirates. But the scurvy is actually when there's a collagen breakdown. So you start bleeding from weird places like your gums or under your nails. It's because they didn't have enough citrus fruits. They weren't getting enough vitamin C on the ship. So they actually started making him drink lime juice. And all of a sudden it went away. All of these years of all these scurvy pirates, and they just needed lime juice. They just need margaritas on their boat. Don't tell your parents I said that. Yeah, you can actually they'll say vitamin C's in mostly in citrus fruits. It's really in pretty much everything. There's actually a lot of it in broccoli, but nobody wants to hear that, so they say citrus fruits.
I love broccoli.
Well, good. I'm glad. I also love broccoli. So eat your broccoli so you get your vitamin C. Now, what was the important part of the water-soluble vitamins?
They break down in water.
And you have to eat them every day because they're going to just cycle through your system. They don't get stored like fat-soluble vitamins do. So making sure you have a consistent supply of them is important. Now, fat-soluble vitamins, those are the rest of them. What does fat-soluble mean?
It breaks down with fat.
Mm-hmm. So they also get stored in fat. That's important because it's a little easier to overdose on fat-soluble vitamins than it is water-soluble vitamins. So if you're taking them as vitamins, it can make it easier to overdose on them. So it's just something to be mindful of. It's difficult, but it is possible. Vitamin A is actually the big one that's easy to overdose on, especially they'll use vitamin A for skin issues, especially very high doses of vitamin A. It is important to note that vitamin A is an antioxidant, so they did use it for smokers for a while because they thought in the general public, vitamin A actually decreased lung cancer. That is not true in smokers. It actually it gives them a higher chance of developing lung cancer. So that's just something to keep in mind, that rules don't always apply to everyone. Yeah. Vitamin A, there are other retinol, both types of retinol. You say them the same way, retinol and retinol. They're both different kinds of vitamin A. Vitamin A is mostly for your eyes. So it helps you create the light receptors and the pigments in your eyes. It does a couple other things. It's an antioxidant, so it helps with immune function and growth and making your cells what they need to be. If you look at this list of where vitamin A comes from, what color are most of these? Or there are two colors that vitamin A normally is found in. What are they?
What did you say?
What colors are vitamin A? If you're looking at the sources, what colors would you find vitamin A?
Orange.
Orange and green. You're going to find vitamin A in orange places. That's also why if you've ever taken a multivitamin, if you have too much vitamin A and you're getting rid of it through your urinary system, your pee turns bright yellow. That's why if you have too much vitamin A, that's what your body will do to try to get rid of it. Vitamin A deficiency is just night blindness. It'll have a lot of issues with your eyes, but that's the big one that you'll first notice. Vitamin D, that's the second one, and I want you to remember the second vitamin that is not really a vitamin. Now, we'll go into why. So if you're looking at the sources of vitamin D, the definition of a vitamin is you need to get it from your diet. Where do you get vitamin D?
The sun.
The sun. And you get 80% of it from the sunlight. You can't get enough vitamin D from your diet. You have to get it from UV light. So that's why vitamin D is actually not technically a vitamin, because you have to get it from sunlight. Vitamin D is very related to calcium, and we'll talk about it a little more later. It helps regulate the calcium that's in your blood and in your bones. So if you don't get enough, you can osteomalacia is osteo is bone, malacia is soft, so soft bones. And rickets is in children. That's an issue with your bone that comes up when you're a child. Osteomalacia is when you're an adult. Vitamin E, so this will be the thing that makes you sound so smart this week. Are you prepared?
Sure.
Next time you're looking at an ingredient list and you see tocopherols, that's vitamin E. That'll be your one thing that makes you sound very smart this week. Is if you're looking at they're often used because it's an antioxidant, they'll be used as a kind of preservative for fat. You normally see it combined with fat. That's why you'll see mixed tocopherols in dog food. So tocopherols, mixed tocopherols, there are also a couple different types of tocopherols. If you see that word, it's vitamin E. People get very afraid of that word because it looks like some scary preservative. That's all it is. And you normally get it with things that have fats in it, like oils, seeds, nuts. You can also get it from leafy greens. It's important because it's normally attached to fat, so anything that you need fat for, like your brain or your muscles, you need vitamin E. Vitamin K, also another important one. You will almost never see the other names for it. Vitamin K is let me stop real quick. So look at the sources. Vitamin K is made by intestinal bacteria. I already said that niacin and vitamin D are not true vitamins because you can make enough to not get them in the diet. Why is vitamin K a true vitamin if it's made by the intestinal bacteria?
I don't know.
You can't make enough. You have to have it in your diet. It's kind of a trick question. You do have to get it from leafy greens and soy, and you can get it from liver if you're feeling very overzealous. But you have to have it for your blood clotting. It's one of the big things that helps make sure that your blood actually clots. So deficiency is hemorrhaging. You do not want to hemorrhage because that's bleeding out. That's a no-no. Get plenty of vitamin K. Now, let's talk about minerals. What was a mineral? What's the difference between a vitamin and a mineral?
One's organic, one's inorganic.
Which one's organic?
Vitamins.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we're talking about organic and inorganic, is it the organic that you would pick up from the store that has the USDA seal on it? Organic?
What?
You know that when you see a food from the store, it has organic on it? We'll talk about it more with labels. But
yeah.
Is it one of those foods that says organic?
It's not.
No. What's organic mean? Let's go back to chemistry. Nothing?
I've been taking chemistry.
Okay, then I can allow it. It has carbon.
Carbon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've changed it a couple times. Sometimes it's related to a living matter. Minerals are just not. They're just solid pieces of often rock. And vitamins are an organic matter. For macrominerals, and those are the ones you need relatively a lot of, you need more than 100 milligrams a day. That's kind of important. I want you to remember that. The macrominerals, macro means, I just told you. What does macro mean?
A big vitamin?
Yep, macro means big. They're calcium, chloride, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Those are the macrominerals. You don't have to remember all of this. I won't be offended. So we're going to go through them real quick. Now, calcium is the one people are mostly going to, that's the one that's going to click a little bit more because it's going to be the most common one. It actually helps. Most people think about, when you think about people taking calcium, what do you think of?
Milk.
Mm-hmm. What does it help with?
Strong bones.
Calcium actually does a lot. We really don't give it enough credit. It helps with nerve transmission, helps your muscles contract. It's an electrolyte, so it helps make hormones and enzymes. It mineralizes your bones, makes them stronger, and it helps with blood clotting. So we really need calcium. You can get it from a couple of leafy greens, a couple of nuts and seeds. Sardines are actually a really good source. Sometimes canned salmon is, and dairy. If you don't have enough, you can get osteoporosis. Something to remember, it does compete in the intestine with phosphorus. So it's a good idea to take both, preferably at separate times, because they are going to compete in the gut to which one's going to get absorbed and which one's not. So if you have calcium and phosphorus and you're trying to take them at the same time, one of them is going to win out. You also need vitamin D. We talked about vitamin D being important with bone health. You need vitamin D to absorb calcium in the intestine. And it also takes it away from bone. So there's a very, very delicate balance of calcium in the blood, which it has to be there to take care of all these things like nerve transmission and muscle conduction. So if you don't have vitamin D there, there's either not going to be enough in the blood, or there's going to be too much in the blood, and vitamin D is there to balance the calcium. So if you take a calcium supplement, you also need to take that vitamin D. Okay. Or get out in the sunshine. Magnesium is one of your more versatile minerals. You need it for more than 300 reactions in your body. You don't have to remember all of them.
Okay.
There's magnesium in a lot of things. Coffee is actually the top source of magnesium in the US, which is kind of sad because it's in a lot of things. It's in a lot of nuts, legumes, teas will have it. It's in chocolate, as long as it's real chocolate. You can get it in whole grains. The magnesium deficiency, there's so many things that are in magnesium deficiency that all I could put is you're basically falling apart. You don't sleep, your muscles don't contract correctly, your blood's going haywire because your veins and your arteries are not doing what they're supposed to. Magnesium is a very relaxing mineral, and you need it for your electrolytes. Your heart's not going to work correctly, so you are not going to work if you don't have enough magnesium. So if you notice that you're not sleeping well or you're really high strung, magnesium supplements are for you. Make sure you're getting enough of that. You do need carbs and vitamin D to absorb magnesium correctly. So a lot of times you'll have and there are a couple things that keep you from absorbing it. Fiber will actually grab onto it. We talked last week about fiber grabbing onto certain things in your body, mostly fat. It'll grab onto magnesium too, and pull it out of your body. You have to take calcium with magnesium because those compete too. Calcium competes with everything. It's kind of a bully, so it does compete with magnesium and phosphorus. Potassium, that's another electrolyte. Most of the electrolytes are, actually, all electrolytes are macro minerals. The 4 electrolytes are sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium, and they balance each other out, and they do pretty much the same things, which is everything. It helps with muscle contraction, nerves, make sure they're conducting correctly, the pH balance in your body, very important. And you'll see them a lot. Nuts have a lot of electrolytes. So you'll need those, nuts and seeds. Deficiency of potassium is osteoporosis. You don't want that. That's another one that helps mineralize your bones. Now, if you have potassium, potassium actually works with calcium, so it's a good one to take with it. It cuts back on the excretion of calcium in your urine, so it keeps the calcium in your body. You need magnesium for potassium to actually take into the cell. And potassium helps get sodium out of the body. So people who have high blood pressure because of high sodium, like I said, magnesium is a relaxing electrolyte. Sodium is a contracting and a high-strung electrolyte. So if, people who are on high blood pressure medications, most of those blood pressure medications are going to have something to do with potassium to get the sodium out of their body, especially if they're on low sodium diets. And speaking of sodium, sodium helps, even though people are very afraid of sodium, you need it. You need it for everything you need an electrolyte for, making sure your fluid balance and pH balance is intact, making sure your nerves and your muscles contract correctly, all the good things. You get it from salt. Sodium, and if you don't have enough, you're going to sweat a lot. You're going to be trying to balance it out, and you're going to be trying to get rid of the water so that you have a good balance of water and sodium. It does the same thing that we talked about. Sodium increases the calcium excretion in the urine, so it's trying to get calcium out of the body, but it helps you absorb calcium in your intestines. So you really do need it. It's a yin and yang for calcium, and you need it with vitamin K to get rid of the sodium in the urine. Wait, I don't even know why I wrote that. It's not vitamin K, it's potassium. You need it with potassium to excrete sodium in the urine. Microminerals. Let's take a second to appreciate how much did you need of a macromineral to have enough, or how much did you need of a mineral to be considered a macromineral? More than, are you muted? I see you. I'll answer for you.
I'm muted because my dog is barking. For what minerals?
For a macromineral, how much did you need to be considered a macromineral?
More than 100.
How much did you need to be a micromineral?
Less than 100.
See, it's easy. Micro means
Tiny.
There are a whole bunch of microminerals. We're going to go through these. Some of them are actually not considered microminerals yet, but they're so on the fence that I'd rather tell you about them than not tell you about them, because the research goes back all the time. And the first one's going to be a little bit surprising, because what is arsenic?
Water.
Arsenic's a poison. They use it in a lot of movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But you have to have it. There are actually symptoms of deficiency with not enough arsenic, but you get arsenic from everywhere. It's in your water, and because it's in the water and the soil, it goes up into fruits and vegetables. You just can't have too much of it. Rice is a big source of arsenic. Chicken used to be, it's not as much anymore. They kind of got in trouble for chicken having too much arsenic in it. But you need it to help with some amino acids, and then silence genes. We'll talk about your DNA a little bit later, but you can turn your genes on and off to either do what they're supposed to, or some of them you want to turn off because you don't want them working like they're supposed to. For any of the microminerals, deficiency is going to be so rare, and it's going to be so rare that something has to be really wrong. So I'm not really going to talk about it too much, but I am going to talk about arsenic overdose. Because that is more common. They're looking at arsenic overdose and having too much arsenic being related with cancers and vitamin A deficiency, and that's for long-term arsenic overdose and just having a little bit too much for too long. Vomiting and abdominal pain are going to be your first signs for arsenic overdose. Boron. That one, it just handles the way that your body handles, or affects the way your body handles electrolytes. Boron is actually really important in older people because it increases their estrogen, which helps them keep their bone density up and helps mental function, keep them from mentally deteriorating for longer. There are tons of sources of boron. It's in pretty much everything, and since you need so little, I assume you eat at least a chickpea or an almond or a bean or a banana or a walnut or avocado or prune or orange or raisin, one of those. If you don't have enough boron, you can get osteoporosis or kidney stones, neither of which are very fun. Chromium. Chromium is one of my favorites, and to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why. I think it was because it was one of the minerals in a drink that I really liked when I was younger, and I liked the name. But it just regulates glucose and insulin. That's very, very important for diabetics because deficiency is glucose intolerance. So you want to make sure that you're getting plenty of chromium, and it's in a lot of things too. The ones that I listed are just, even if you never eat them, you're still going to get chromium in other things. If you're not having an issue with your blood sugar, you probably don't have a chromium deficiency. Cobalt. That one actually helps you absorb B12. If you don't have enough cobalt, you are not going to have enough B12, so you're just going to be exhausted. It's numbness, fatigue, tingling in hands and feet. They normally go hand, or actually they always go hand in hand, a cobalt deficiency and a vitamin B12 deficiency. But cobalt's going to be in meats, especially meats that graze. So things like beef, sheep, or goats, things that are out grazing, you're going to get cobalt from. Fluorine or fluoride. What do you use fluoride for?
Teeth and bones.
So there was a point. Why did they add fluoride to our water now?
Why?
Yeah, why?
No, I didn't hear you. You started.
Oh, why did they add fluoride to our water?
Because we need it.
Because we had some nasty teeth. Deficiency of fluoride is dental caries and bone problems. So they added it to our water because we weren't getting enough, especially when people weren't getting enough meat and fish. You actually get it from your drinking water, and there different sources of drinking water have more or less fluoride. Some people are a little concerned about neurotoxicity with fluoride. There's not a whole lot to back it up, but there hasn't been a whole lot of research done either. So it's hard to say either way, but you do have to have fluoride for your teeth. Some level of fluoride you do have to have for your teeth. Iodine. Where would you find iodine? You might be too young for this one. Yeah, salt. They started adding iodine to salt because people started. Have you ever seen when somebody, or have you seen a picture of somebody who has a very large lump right here? It's a goiter.
Okay.
And that means their thyroid is huge. So iodine deficiency causes enlarged thyroid, and that can actually go either way. They didn't realize that too much iodine can actually cause the same thing, or can also cause issues with your thyroid. So that one's been a little bit of an interesting balancing act, but we still do, for the most part, add iodine to our salt. Even though you can get it from saltwater seafood, and you get it all over the place. You get it from eggs. So you do get iodine. It just helps you make thyroid hormones. Iron is very, very important. It's the part of the red blood cell, and it helps you to take oxygen from one place to another. So you need it to get the oxygen where it needs to go. What color is iron in the blood cell?
Red?
Yeah. Iron is part of what makes your red blood cell red. It's most of the time it's in meats. You can get it from legumes and seeds and leafy greens. Dried fruit is actually a pretty good source of it too. If you don't have enough iron, and a lot of people are iron deficient, you get really, really tired because you're not getting the oxygen where it needs to go. One of the big things and the really telling sign for iron deficiency is you have a very sore tongue. And that's how you know you're not just tired. You both have a sore tongue and you get sick often. So that's how you know that you're low on iron. All right, I have a challenge for you. I want you to say this mineral.
Molybdenum.
I have never heard it said the same way twice. I call it molybdenum. I've never heard a teacher say it the same way, and I've never heard a speaker say it the same way twice. Or I've never heard two people say it the same way. Call it whatever you want to call it. It helps you get rid of, we're going to talk about this later, but I really can't stand the word toxins. But for the purpose of this, I'm going to have to use it. When you break down anything in your body has little extras that it sends out. And part of the breakdown process creates things that can make you sick. Your body's just really good at getting rid of them. That's part of what this mineral does. It helps you get them out of your system. So it's part of your body's natural way of just flushing things out. You'll find it mostly in grains, especially buckwheat, oats, rice is a big source, soybeans, lentils, all kinds of good stuff. Nickel. Nickel actually helps you do a whole bunch of things. It's part of your bone structure, helps you break down glucose for energy, helps you absorb iron, so you really do need it in addition to iron. You are never going to be deficient in nickel unless you really have something wrong. But if you are deficient in nickel, you'll have excessive sweating and you won't have enough red blood cells. And that'll be the most telling sign, is they take your blood and you don't have enough red blood cells. And that'll be mostly you're sweating all the time and you're exhausted. But as you can see, it is in everything. So you're very rarely going to be deficient in nickel. Selenium is also a fun one. That actually protects your cells from hydrogen peroxide, which is a byproduct of a couple of important processes in your body. And free radical damage. What's a free radical?
I don't know.
I tell you. So antioxidants are real popular right now, right? I actually think antioxidants in everything. Big buzzword right now. We love antioxidants. Antioxidants actually bind to a free radical. So a free radical is missing an electron, which causes to wreak havoc in your body, because if something is missing a piece, it's going to go through your body and try to find it. It's going to pull it from wherever it can, which creates more free radicals because they're all missing electrons and they're all unhappy and they're just bitter. And antioxidant just adds a free radical to, or adds an electron to the free radical to make it happy in a normal cell again. So selenium is just there to protect your cells. Another medical terminology teaching moment. Myo means what? What is myo, if you ever see it?
Strong.
Myo is muscle.
Oh.
Have you ever seen myo on everything? It means muscle. Algia means pain, so myalgia is muscle pain. Apathy or pathy, anything that ends in pathy, just means you're sick. So muscle sickness is myopathy. And if you're looking at cardiac myopathy, it's sickness in your heart muscle. Not really specific, but tells you what's going on. So you need selenium to protect you from those. Selenium also makes it so your cell is stronger, so it keeps your cell from breaking down. Silicone. Where do you find silicone?
Lots of things.
All over my kitchen. All of my utensils. Everything that my kid likes to play with. What does silicone do? So what does it do for, like, if you see something that's made out of silicone, why is it made out of silicone?
I don't know.
Make it stronger. So keep it from breaking. So if you see like a water bottle that's covered in silicone, it's to make it so it doesn't break when it hits the floor, when you inevitably drop it. Same thing in your body. They put silicone in water for that reason, because it helps strengthen up your tissues. It's going to make your skin nice. The biggest telling sign that you're deficient in silicone is your nails. So if your nails are brittle, you're probably deficient in silicone. And even just a little bit, silicone goes a long way. So you just need to make sure you're getting plenty of it. Vanadium, that's mostly just metabolism, hormone, cholesterol, blood sugar. It's in everything. There's a lot of debate on whether this one is necessary or at all. Because like we said, we're looking at micronutrients. The definition of a nutrient is that you need it for to sustain life. There are no deficiency symptoms for vanadium. So that one's going to go back and forth. They may actually take that off. They're just not sure yet. So it may not be a micronutrient, but I'd rather know it instead of not know it. It's also not one that you're normally going to see on nutrition facts, because it's not normally fortified with anything. You're going to see it mostly in meats or a couple of vegetables. Seafoods is a big source of it. Last one, zinc. You really do need zinc. That one's important. Helps you get rid of a lot of things. So zinc, the most telling thing with zinc is if your taste and smell go a little off and you're not tasting and smelling things correctly, you might be zinc deficient. And you're going to get that mostly in poultry or grains. Oysters are actually a huge source of zinc. Zinc's also very important for wound healing. So you may need it if you have a cut or something that just will not heal. You may need some little extra zinc to help you heal. But the most telling sign that you have a traditional zinc deficiency is that your taste and smell is just off. That'll be more common in older people. That's why they can't taste and smell quite as much, partly because they've gotten rid of many of their taste buds and the pieces of their nose that allow you to smell, and partly because they don't have as much zinc. Now, let's go over these real quick before I let you go. What's a micronutrient?
A micronutrient is a small nutrient.
What's a nutrient? Can't use the definition or the word in the definition.
Oh, it's tiny. Right?
Yeah, it's something you need in small amounts that you get from your diet.
Okay.
Now, what's the difference between a vitamin and a mineral?
If it's organic or inorganic.
Which one's organic?
Vitamin.
Inorganic?
Mineral.
Yeah. What's a water-soluble vitamins? What are they? There are two. Well, there are technically more, but there are two types.
Water-soluble vitamins are vitamins that break down in water.
Mm-hmm. What are the two types of them? There's
vitamin C and all B vitamins.
Mm-hmm. What about the fat-soluble vitamins?
Fat-soluble are break down in fat and are stored in fat.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are they?
I did
Easiest
not
if you go by
catch
the
them.
letters. So they're vitamin A.
A.
Vitamin, we skip B and C. Vitamin D. Vitamin E. And for some reason, we skipped a whole bunch of them and went to vitamin K.
So, A.
A, E, and K. There are 4 of them.
Okay.
Which 2 vitamins are not true vitamins?
Vitamin D and vitamin B6.
Close.
12.
Close. It is a B vitamin. It's niacin.
It's which one?
Niacin. That'll be the one you're going to want to use because, I mean, if you say, hold on, let me go back. If you say B3, nobody's going to know what you're talking about. You're going to want to say niacin because you're very rarely going to see vitamin B3 on any, woo, oh no, vitamin B3 on anything.
Okay.
Going back. I did it again. All right, last couple. How many milligrams do you need of a mineral for it to be considered a macro mineral?
More than 100 milligrams.
A micromineral?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, and a micromineral.
Oh, less than 100 millimeters. Not millimeters and micrograms.
Yeah. So your homework is to check your food journal. So when you're writing your food journal, you should be writing how you're feeling too. So if you notice you're tired or what cellular hunger? You're needing a nutrient, right?
Sorry, you froze.
No. So when you're looking at your food journal, so what cellular hunger?
When you're hungry because you're missing nutrients.
Mm-hmm. So if you see yourself feeling more of that one day, look at the nutrients that might be missing. They're very rarely going to be macronutrients. They're probably or not rarely, but they may very well be micronutrients that you're kind of missing a little bit of that you need. And then I skipped a couple. I don't know if you noticed. I skipped a couple of minerals. So I want you to write down the functions, sources, and deficiency symptoms of the 4 minerals I missed. I'm going to put it on the Facebook page. Cool?
Cool.
All right. Well, you are all set. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, then I will stick this up on the Facebook page, and you're free. And go rest your voice.
What?
Go rest your voice.
I have work today.
Oh, no. Well, okay, go to work. You have a great day, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, you too. See you
Bye.
next week. Bye.